Intro. When talking about artists with a wild soul and an enchanting musical style, Willy DeVille is a name that cannot be overlooked. He was not just a talented singer and songwriter, but also a man who lived and breathed music, despite the many ups and downs in his life. From a passionate young boy in Stamford, Connecticut, to his glory days on the stage of CBGB, Willy DeVille's journey is a story of passion, creativity, and deep struggles. What made this artist so unique and unforgettable? Let's dive into the life of Willy DeVille, a man whose music was as extraordinary as his life. Childhood. Willy DeVille, born William Paul Borsey Jr. on August 25, 1950 in Stamford, Connecticut, grew up in the working-class Belltown district, an area known for its tight-knit community and strong blue-collar work ethic. His father, William Paul Borsey Sr., was a skilled carpenter who worked tirelessly to support his family, while his mother, Marion Elizabeth Merritt, took care of the household. DeVille's upbringing was shaped by a mix of cultures and influences. According to some sources, his maternal grandmother was of Pequot Native American descent, and he also had Spanish and Irish ancestry, which contributed to his unique heritage and later influenced his musical identity. As a child, DeVille displayed an early fascination with music. He was particularly drawn to the sounds of early rock and roll and rhythm and blues, with groups like the Drifters capturing his imagination. He would often listen to the radio for hours, immersing himself in the melodies and harmonies of doo-wop and soul music. He later described these moments as transformative, calling his first encounters with music magical and almost hypnotic. Unlike many other children who were drawn to mainstream pop, DeVille gravitated toward the raw, emotional storytelling of blues and R&B. His love for these genres would later become a defining feature of his own musical style. Despite his passion for music, DeVille struggled with traditional schooling and eventually dropped out of high school. Feeling restless and uninspired by his surroundings, he began spending more time in the Lower East Side and West Village of New York City, neighborhoods that were known for their vibrant artistic and musical communities. There, he was exposed to a wide variety of musical influences, from the emerging folk scene to the gritty underground blues movement. During this formative period, DeVille became particularly enamored with legendary blues musicians such as Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker, and especially John Hammond. He deeply admired Hammond's raw and authentic approach to the blues, later stating that he owed much of his stage presence, vocal style, and artistic persona to him. In particular, he credited Hammond's 1965 album So Many Roads with changing his life, saying it opened his eyes to the power and depth of blues music. Inspired by these artists, DeVille began refining his own sound, experimenting with blending blues, rock, soul, and even Latin influences into a style that was uniquely his own. Career Willy DeVille's musical journey was a testament to his relentless pursuit of artistic expression, marked by both critical acclaim and personal challenges. In the early 1970s, he began performing in bands including Billy and the Kids and the Immaculate Conception before moving to London in search of like-minded musicians. Unable to find success there, he returned to New York and formed the Royal Pythons, but the band failed to gain traction. Undeterred, he continued experimenting with his sound and eventually formed Mink DeVille in 1974. The band initially started in San Francisco before relocating to New York, where they became one of the house bands at CBGB, the legendary nightclub that played a pivotal role in the rise of punk rock. Unlike many of their contemporaries, Mink DeVille stood out with their fusion of rock, blues, soul, and Latin influences. In 1976, Capitol Records signed Mink DeVille after spotting them at CBGB, and producer Jack Nitzsche helped shape their debut album, Cabretta, 1977. The album was well received, with its lead single, Spanish Stroll, reaching number 1, 20 on the UK singles chart, marking DeVille's only charting success in the UK. The band's next album, Return to Magenta, 1978, built on this success and featured musical collaborations with Dr. John and saxophonist Steve Douglas. However, DeVille was never content with repeating himself, and his subsequent albums reflected his evolving musical vision. Le Chat Bleu, 1980, recorded in Paris, was heavily influenced by French chansons and featured songwriting contributions from Doc Pomus. Initially considered too unconventional for the American market, it was first released only in Europe, where DeVille had begun to cultivate a dedicated fan base. Throughout the early 1980s, DeVille continued refining his sound, releasing Coup de Grâce, 1981, and Where Angels Fear to Tread, 1983, which blended elements of soul, R&B, and Latin music. While his records found success in Europe, they struggled to gain recognition in the United States. The band's final album, Sportin' Life, 1985, was recorded in Alabama with the Muscle Shoals Rhythm section and continued to chart in European markets. Despite his critical acclaim, financial difficulties and creative differences led DeVille to disband Mink DeVille in 1986. He filed for bankruptcy, fired his manager, and embarked on a solo career. As a solo artist, DeVille continued to explore new musical directions. His first solo album, Miracle, 1987, featured the song Storybook Love, which became the theme song for the film The Princess Bride and earned an Academy Award nomination. In 1990, he paid tribute to classic New Orleans R&B with the album Victory Mixture, collaborating with local legends like Dr. John and Alan Toussaint. His 1992 album Backstreets of Desire is often regarded as his masterpiece, featuring a mariachi-style rendition of Hey Joe that became a hit in France and Spain. Throughout the 1990s, he remained more popular in Europe than in the U.S., recording several live albums and studio projects that showcased his deepening connection to blues, rock, and Latin music. By the early 2000s, after overcoming a decades-long heroin addiction, DeVille relocated to Cerrillos Hills, New Mexico, where he continued making music. He recorded Crow Jane Alley, 2004, and Pistola, 2008, both of which received praise for their raw, intimate sound. Despite his health struggles in his later years, he remained an electrifying live performer, known for his passionate stage presence and ability to blend diverse musical influences into a sound uniquely his own. Scandal. Willy DeVille's life and career were often overshadowed by controversy, largely due to his long-standing struggles with heroin addiction, financial troubles, and turbulent personal relationships. His substance abuse, which lasted for more than 2 decades, had a profound impact on both his health and career, creating a cycle of instability that followed him throughout his life. While his immense musical talent was widely recognized, his personal demons often hindered his success, particularly in the United States, where his reputation was marred by his drug use and unpredictable behavior. By the mid-1980s, DeVille's heroin addiction had taken a severe toll on him. He frequently found himself in financial distress, and in 1986, he was forced to file for bankruptcy. This marked a turning point in his career, as he also fired his longtime manager Michael Barnett and officially disbanded his band, Mink DeVille, in an effort to start fresh as a solo artist. However, the transition was not easy. DeVille's erratic lifestyle, exacerbated by his drug use, made it difficult for him to maintain stability in both his professional and personal life. Although he managed to secure recording contracts and continue making music, his career was plagued by missed opportunities and commercial disappointments, especially in the U.S., where his struggles became more well-known than his artistry. His drug addiction also affected his relationships, particularly with his first wife, Susan Toots DeVille. Their marriage was notorious for its volatility, with both individuals displaying fiery tempers. Toots was known for her aggressive and protective nature, often resorting to physical confrontations when she felt her husband was being disrespected. She famously put out a lit cigarette in a woman's eye for looking at DeVille too intently, a story that became part of the couple's mythos. Their relationship, though deeply passionate, was ultimately unsustainable due to their mutual self-destructive tendencies. They divorced in the mid-1980s, adding to the emotional and financial turmoil DeVille was already facing. Following his split from Toots, DeVille married Lisa Leggett, who became his business manager and helped him regain some level of professional organization. However, his addiction continued to haunt him, preventing him from fully capitalizing on his talent. Throughout the late 1980s and 1990s, DeVille's reputation as an unreliable performer made it difficult for him to find mainstream success, particularly in the U.S. He frequently had trouble with record labels, and his behavior often alienated industry executives. While he was revered in Europe, where audiences were more forgiving of his personal struggles, the American music industry largely turned its back on him. In addition to his financial and professional troubles, DeVille's addiction led to several health issues. Years of heroin use caused severe damage to his body, and by the early 2000s he was visibly frail. Despite multiple attempts to get clean, he often relapsed, and his lifestyle continued to take a toll on his well-being. His wife, Lisa, also struggled with personal demons, and in 2001, she tragically took her own life by hanging herself. DeVille was the one who discovered her body, an event that deeply traumatized him. He later admitted that the loss drove him to a near-suicidal state, leading to a reckless car accident in which he suffered multiple injuries, including a broken arm and knee damage. Marriage. Willy DeVille's personal life was marked by 3 significant marriages, each reflecting different periods of his tumultuous journey. In 1971, DeVille married Susan Burrell, affectionately known as Toots. The two had known each other since their youth in Stamford, Connecticut. Toots was a distinctive figure, described as half French and half Pima Indian, with a striking appearance that included nose rings, snow-white kabuki makeup, and a Renette-style beehive hairdo. Her fierce loyalty to DeVille was evident. She once extinguished a lit Marlboro in a woman's eye for merely staring at him. DeVille adopted Toots's son, Sean, from a previous relationship. Their relationship was intense and passionate, but DeVille admitted in a 1996 interview that he hadn't seen her in over a decade, stating, "I ran off on her, I guess. She was fascinating, all right. She loved to fight and pull knives out. She used to get me into a lot of trouble." Toots passed away from cancer in 2004. In 1984, DeVille married Lisa Leggett, whom he met in California. Lisa became his business manager, playing a pivotal role in his career. The couple resided near New Orleans and later on a horse farm in Picayune, Mississippi. DeVille spoke fondly of their life together, mentioning their involvement in breeding Spanish and Portuguese bullfighting horses. Tragically, in 2001, Lisa committed suicide by hanging. DeVille discovered her body, an event that deeply affected him. Following Lisa's death, DeVille married his third wife, Nina Lagerwall, in 2001. They met in New York City in August 2000 and returned there after their marriage. Nina remained by DeVille's side until his passing in 2009. He is survived by Nina and his son Sean from his first marriage. other relationships. Throughout his career, Willy DeVille collaborated with a diverse array of artists and producers, enriching his music with various influences and styles. In 1987, he partnered with Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits to record the album Miracle. Knopfler not only produced the album, but also played guitar on several tracks. Their collaboration led to the song Storybook Love, which was featured as the theme for the film The Princess Bride and earned an Academy Award nomination. DeVille's 1992 album, Backstreets of Desire, showcased his ability to blend genres and featured contributions from notable musicians. David Hidalgo of Los Lobos lent his talents to the project, adding depth to DeVille's eclectic sound. The album also included a unique mariachi rendition of the Jimi Hendrix classic Hey Joe, which became a hit in Europe, reaching #1 in Spain and France. In 1990, DeVille paid homage to the rich musical heritage of New Orleans with the album Victory Mixture. He collaborated with local legends such as Dr. John, Allen Toussaint, and Eddie Bow, aiming to capture the authentic spirit of the city's R&B scene. The project was recorded live, without overdubs, to preserve the genuine feel of the original recordings. Producer Jack Nitzsche played a significant role in DeVille's early career, working on albums like Cabretta, 1977, and Le Chat Bleu, 1980. Nitzsche's production expertise helped shape the distinctive sound of Mink DeVille, blending rock, soul, and Latin influences. Another key collaborator was songwriter Doc Pomus, with whom DeVille co-wrote several songs. Their partnership was particularly evident on Le Chat Bleu, where Pomus's lyrical contributions complemented DeVille's musical vision. These collaborations highlight DeVille's openness to diverse musical influences and his ability to work with a wide range of artists and producers, enriching his music and leaving a lasting impact on the industry. Death. In February 2009, Willy DeVille was diagnosed with hepatitis C, a serious liver disease often associated with long-term drug use. While undergoing treatment, doctors discovered a more devastating illness: pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer is one of the most aggressive and deadly forms of cancer, often diagnosed in its later stages due to its subtle early symptoms. By the time DeVille's cancer was detected in May 2009, the disease had already progressed significantly, leaving him with limited treatment options. His declining health forced him to retreat from public life, and he spent his final months in New York City surrounded by his loved ones. Despite the severity of his illness, DeVille remained resilient in spirit. He had long been aware of the struggles and hardships that defined his life, and he faced his final days with a sense of bittersweet acceptance. In one of his later interviews, he reflected on his mortality, stating, "I have a theory. I know that I'll sell much more records when I'm dead. It isn't very pleasant, but I have to get used to this idea." His words carried an air of tragic irony. Throughout his career, he had been overlooked by mainstream American audiences despite his immense talent, and he seemed to predict that his recognition would come posthumously. On the night of August 6, 2009, just 3 weeks before his 59th birthday, DeVille passed away in New York City. The music industry mourned his loss, though in many ways his death did not receive the widespread attention that it deserved. Among those who understood his artistic genius, however, his passing was felt deeply. Music critic Tom Jurek lamented, "Willy DeVille is America's loss even if America doesn't know it yet. The reason is simple. Like the very best rock and roll writers and performers in our history, he's one of the very few who got it right. His ability to blend rock, blues, R&B, and Latin influences into something uniquely his own was a rare gift, and his death marked the end of an era for those who had followed his work. After his passing, tributes poured in from fans and fellow musicians. Mark Knopfler, who had worked with DeVille on the album Miracle, 1987, expressed his admiration for DeVille's artistry, calling him one of the most underrated songwriters of his generation. Peter Wolf of the J. Giles Band also acknowledged DeVille's influence, noting that he had a rare ability to channel deep emotion into his performances. While DeVille's mainstream recognition in the United States remained limited, his impact on European audiences was undeniable. In France, Spain, and other parts of Europe, his albums continued to sell well after his death, reinforcing his prediction that his music would gain more appreciation once he was gone. Even in death, DeVille's legacy endures. His music remains a testament to his ability to capture raw human emotion and tell compelling stories through song. Although he never achieved widespread commercial success in his lifetime, he is now remembered as a cult icon, a musician's musician whose work has influenced generations of artists. His passing may have been quiet, but his music continues to resonate with those who appreciate authenticity, passion, and soul.